Open immediately. Your soulmate's secret love letter was finally found. Read the last page before it disappears. My beloved child, something has finally come into the light, and the last page changes everything. A secret love letter connected to your soulmate has been found, but what makes this moment unforgettable is not simply that the letter exists, it is what was written when they believed you might never see these words. Don't skip, because the beginning only reveals half of the story. The letter starts quietly, almost as though your soulmate was afraid to admit what had been living inside their heart for so long. They wrote about the moment you became impossible to forget. They remembered something small about you, a look, a conversation, a feeling, and somehow that tiny memory kept returning when everything around them became silent. But then the words suddenly change. The letter becomes deeper, more personal. And one sentence reveals something surprising: they had been holding back words they desperately wanted you to hear. Not because those feelings disappeared, but because they were waiting for the moment when everything finally felt clear. Stay till the end, because the final page holds the one truth they could never say directly: something huge is waiting for you, because halfway through the letter, your soulmate admits that their feelings became stronger during the very moments when they tried hardest to ignore them. Every time they attempted to move forward without thinking about you, another memory returned. Every time they convinced themselves that the connection was only temporary, something inside them questioned that decision. Don't skip. The next lines reveal a once-in-a-lifetime realization. Your soulmate began imagining what it would feel like to stop hiding behind silence and finally let you know what you truly mean to them. They wondered whether you had felt the same invisible pull. They wondered whether you had ever suddenly thought about them without understanding why. And then comes the sentence that changes the entire meaning of the letter: if these words ever reach you, understand that I wrote them because staying silent no longer felt right. But that is still not the biggest revelation. There is one final page, and according to the letter, that page was never supposed to be seen until the right moment arrived. Now the final page is closer than ever, and this is where everything you thought you understood begins to shift. Stay till the end, because your soulmate did not finish this letter with goodbye, regret, or distance. They finished it with a decision. A decision they had apparently been building toward for longer than anyone realized. The final lines speak about choosing honesty over uncertainty, choosing courage over endless waiting, and allowing a meaningful connection to finally have a chance to become something more. Something huge is waiting for you. The last page contains one unfinished sentence, followed by a final handwritten line that seems more important than everything before it. And when you discover what those words reveal, you may understand why this secret letter remained hidden for so long. Because your soulmate wasn't simply writing about the past. They were writing about what they hoped would happen next, and the final word suggests that the next chapter could begin sooner than anyone expected. The final handwritten line changes the entire meaning of the letter, because your soulmate suddenly stops talking about memories and begins talking about you as part of their future. Don't skip, because this is where the secret becomes much deeper than anyone expected. The word suggests that there was a moment when they almost told you everything, but something made them wait. They kept rewriting the same thought, searching for the perfect way to express something that had become impossible to ignore. And then came the realization they could no longer hide from themselves. You were not simply someone they remembered occasionally. You had become the person their thoughts kept returning to when everything else became quiet. Stay till the end, because one sentence near the bottom of the page reveals something huge. Your soulmate wrote that if they ever received one genuine opportunity to speak openly with you, they would stop pretending that this connection meant nothing. They would finally say what had remained unwritten between you for so long. And strangely, the final page looks different from every page before it, as if these last words were written much later, after something inside them had completely changed. Something huge is waiting for you, because those final words reveal the decision behind the entire letter. Your soulmate had reached a point where simply wondering about you was no longer enough. They wanted clarity. They wanted to know whether the connection they had carried quietly could become something real. But there is another surprising detail hidden between. Two crossed-out sentences. One line appears to have been written, erased, and written again. It says that there was something about you they noticed long before you could have realized it. Something in your presence made them feel understood without needing to explain everything. Don't skip, because this is exactly where the letter takes its biggest emotional turn. Your soulmate admits that they had compared other connections to what they felt around you, and somehow those comparisons kept bringing their thoughts back to the same place. Back to you. That realization became impossible to dismiss. And underneath it, they wrote one simple promise to themselves: if another genuine chance appeared, they would not waste it by remaining silent. But the most surprising discovery is still hidden at the very bottom of the page. Stay till the end, because this final section was written almost like a message meant specifically for the moment when the letter would finally be found. Your soulmate wrote that sometimes two people can spend so long waiting for certainty that they fail to notice the opportunity already standing in front of them. Then the handwriting becomes larger, stronger, almost as though they wanted these final words to be impossible to misunderstand. They were ready to stop letting unanswered questions control what happened next. They were ready to approach this connection differently, with honesty, patience, and a willingness to discover what could actually happen between you. Something huge is waiting for you, because underneath that statement appears one last unfinished thought. It begins with the words, "When the right moment arrives, the first thing I will tell you is," and then it stops. No ending. No explanation. Just empty space. But another page appears to have once been attached behind it, and whatever was written there may finally reveal the exact words your soulmate had been preparing to say. Behind that unfinished sentence, there is something nobody expected to find, a faint impression left by the missing page, almost as if the words were pressed so deeply into the paper that their meaning refused to disappear. Don't skip, because this changes everything. The message was not simply about confessing feelings. Your soulmate had written about a specific moment when they finally understood why thoughts of you kept returning. They remembered how your presence made ordinary moments feel different, how certain memories stayed vivid long after everything else faded, and how every attempt to dismiss the connection only made one question grow stronger: what if this was never meant to be ignored? Stay till the end, because the next discovery reveals that your soulmate had already imagined the conversation they wanted to have with you. They pictured looking directly at you, leaving uncertainty behind, and finally saying the words they had rehearsed privately again and again. Something huge is waiting for you, because one hidden line appears beneath the unfinished sentence: I finally know what I want to ask you. But the question itself is nowhere on that page. Then another clue appears, and suddenly the entire letter feels different. In the margin, your soulmate had written several tiny notes beside certain memories, almost like they were trying to understand the exact moment their feelings became undeniable. One note points toward a conversation they never forgot. Another describes the strange feeling of missing someone even while trying to stay busy. But the final note is the most surprising: "This is when I knew." Don't skip. Whatever happened in that memory seems to have changed their perspective completely. They realized they were no longer waiting for their feelings to disappear, they were waiting for the courage to understand them. And from that point forward, the letter stops sounding uncertain. Your soulmate begins writing about possibilities, another conversation, another meeting, another opportunity to finally speak without holding anything back. Stay till the end, because they also reveal that there is one thing they desperately hope you understand before they make their next move: their silence was never proof that you were forgotten. In their own words, silence had simply become the place where everything they could not yet express was waiting. Something huge is waiting for you, because the final lines reveal why that missing page matters so much. Your soulmate apparently wrote it after making a private decision, and unlike everything before it, there were no crossed-out sentences, no hesitation, and no rewritten words. Whatever they placed on that page was written with complete certainty. The faint marks remaining underneath reveal only fragments: "next time," "tell you," "no more wondering," and finally, one phrase that stands apart from everything else: "the truth about us." Don't skip, because those words suggest the secret love letter was leading towards something much bigger than a simple confession. Your soulmate wanted to reveal what they believed this connection could become. They had reached a point where imagining possibilities was no longer enough. They wanted an answer. They wanted a real moment of clarity. And just when it seems the missing page is gone forever, another detail appears on the back cover: a short handwritten message pointing toward where the final page may have been placed. Stay till the end, because if that page is found, the unfinished question could finally be completed, and the answer may reveal exactly what your soulmate hopes happens between you next. The message on the back cover leads to something completely unexpected, because the missing page was never truly gone. It had been folded so carefully into the letter that it looked like part of the cover itself. Don't skip, because the moment that page opens, the entire story changes. Unlike the earlier pages, there are no crossed-out words, no hesitation, and no unfinished thoughts. Your soulmate wrote these lines as though they had finally reached complete clarity. The first sentence says, "If you are reading this someday, then perhaps the moment I kept waiting for has finally arrived." But immediately underneath it comes something even more surprising. They admit there was one truth they had avoided writing because putting it into words would make it impossible to deny. You had become more important to them than they expected. Certain memories of you had remained with them through changing days and long periods of silence, and whenever they imagined finally being completely honest, your face was the first thing that appeared in their mind. Stay till the end, because the next line reveals why they kept this final page separate from everything else. They wanted these words to be discovered only when they were ready to stop hiding behind uncertainty. Something huge is waiting for you, and the biggest revelation has not appeared yet. Then the handwriting suddenly becomes larger, almost as if your soulmate wanted one particular sentence to stand above everything else: "I don't want another opportunity to pass while I keep wondering what could have happened." Don't skip, because this is the decision the entire secret letter has been building toward. Your soulmate was not writing simply to remember you, they were preparing themselves to finally communicate differently. They wanted to replace assumptions with honesty and unanswered questions with a real conversation. They admit they had imagined countless versions of that moment, what they would say first, whether you would smile, whether you would be surprised, and whether you had secretly been carrying some of the same questions. But then comes the once-in-a-lifetime revelation. They stop trying to predict your answer. They realized their first responsibility was simply to be truthful about their own feelings. Stay till the end, because underneath that realization appears the question missing from the previous page. It reads, if we were given one completely honest beginning, would you want to discover where this connection could lead? And beneath that question, your soulmate added another sentence much later, one that suggests something inside them had shifted again. Something huge is waiting for you, because that later sentence reveals that your soulmate no longer wanted the letter to remain only a letter. They wrote that words hidden on paper could never replace a genuine moment between two people. They wanted the next chapter to exist outside these pages, where nothing had to be imagined anymore. Don't skip, because at the very bottom there is one final message written in smaller handwriting. There is something else I need you to know before I speak. That sentence changes everything again. What else could possibly remain after all these revelations? The answer appears to be connected to one memory your soulmate mentioned repeatedly but never fully explained. They circled a single phrase 3 times, the moment everything became clear. Stay till the end, because whatever happened in that moment seems to be the true reason this secret love letter was written in the first place. And beside those words is a date, followed by one extraordinary sentence. That was the day I stopped asking whether you mattered to me and started wondering whether I mattered to you. The letter may finally have been found, but its deepest secret is only beginning to unfold. That single date unlocks the part of the letter your soulmate tried hardest to keep hidden, because beside it is a memory described with extraordinary detail. Don't skip, because this is where the mystery surrounding the moment everything became clear finally begins to make sense. Your soulmate remembers an ordinary day that somehow became unforgettable. Nothing dramatic needed to happen. It was something smaller, a look, a few words, the feeling that for one brief moment they could completely be themselves around you. And afterward, they could not stop replaying it. They wondered whether you had noticed the same feeling. They wondered whether that moment had stayed with you too. Stay till the end, because then comes the surprising confession. That was the first time your soulmate seriously imagined what life might feel like if the distance and uncertainty between you disappeared. Something huge is waiting for you. They wrote that the memory followed them home, remained in their thoughts, and eventually became the reason they opened a blank page and started this secret letter. Every page you have heard until now began because of that one moment. But underneath the memory is another sentence, added later. I understand now that the moment was only the beginning. What came afterward changed them even more. Don't skip, because your soulmate admits that they started noticing things they had previously overlooked. They noticed how quickly their attention returned to you. They noticed how your name could suddenly bring back an entire collection of memories. They noticed that whenever they imagined receiving unexpected good news, you were somehow one of the people they wanted to tell. That realization surprised them because it was not something they had planned. Stay till the end, because the letter then reveals something even deeper. Your soulmate had tried to convince themselves that enough time would make everything simpler, but time did the opposite. It gave them clarity. The confusion slowly disappeared, leaving behind one undeniable thought: they wanted to know you without all the unanswered questions standing between you. Something huge is waiting for you, because immediately after writing this, they make a promise to themselves: the next genuine opportunity would not be treated like the opportunities before it. They would listen more carefully, speak more openly, and most importantly, they would finally reveal the one thing they had been afraid you might never realize: that your presence had left a lasting impression on their heart. But just when the letter seems ready to reveal everything, there is another extraordinary twist. At the bottom of the page, your soulmate wrote a short message to their future self. Don't skip, because these words were apparently meant to be read right before they finally approached you. They wrote, "Remember why you started this letter. Remember the moment you knew. And when you finally have the chance, do not hide behind silence again." Then comes another line, and this one carries the strongest emotional weight yet: tell them what changed after that day. Stay till the end, because apparently something happened afterward that transformed uncertainty into a decision. The letter gives only 3 clues: a conversation they overheard, something they unexpectedly learned about you, and a realization that made them rewrite the ending of the letter completely. Something huge is waiting for you, because the ending you discovered earlier may not actually be the final ending. There is another folded section beneath the last page, sealed separately, with only 4 handwritten words on the outside: "Open when I'm certain." And whatever is inside may reveal exactly what your soulmate finally became certain about. The sealed section opens with a sentence that feels completely different from everything written before it: "Now I am certain." Don't skip, because those 4 words mark the exact point where your soulmate stopped questioning their feelings and started thinking about what they truly wanted to do next. There are no scattered thoughts here, no crossed-out sentences, no attempts to soften what they mean. They write that the conversation they overheard made them realize how easily meaningful opportunities can pass when people keep waiting for a perfect moment. Then they reveal what they unexpectedly learned about you: not some dramatic secret, but something that changed how they understood your silence. They began to wonder whether you had been protecting your feelings too, whether both of you had been standing on opposite sides of the same uncertainty, each waiting for the other to make things clearer. Stay till the end, because your soulmate writes one shocking realization beneath this: maybe I was waiting for an answer to a question I had never actually asked. Something huge is waiting for you, because that realization is exactly what made them rewrite the ending. The original ending had been quiet. Your soulmate planned to keep the letter hidden and allow time to decide everything. But the rewritten ending says the opposite. Don't skip, they write that waiting had taught them something important. Clarity does not always arrive before someone takes the first sincere step. Sometimes clarity comes because someone finally chooses to speak. Your soulmate admits that they cannot know exactly what you feel, and they do not want to pretend they can. What they do know is what has become clear inside their own heart. Memories of you continued to matter. Questions about you continued to return. And the possibility of an honest conversation continued to feel more meaningful than leaving everything unfinished. Stay till the end, because this is where the once-in-a-lifetime revelation appears. They write, "I am not asking for a perfect story. I am asking for one truthful beginning." Then, directly beneath those words, your soulmate describes what they hope happens next. No guessing, no pretending to know the future, just two people finally speaking honestly enough to discover whether the connection they have wondered about deserves a real chance. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is still one final line beneath the rewritten ending. That line was written in different ink, suggesting your soulmate return to the letter one final time. Don't skip, because these are the newest words anywhere on the pages. They read, "If I find the courage to say this outside the letter, everything changes." Then your soulmate adds something nobody would expect after so many pages of hidden feelings. They no longer want you to discover their heart through mysterious words on paper. They want you to hear the truth directly, naturally, and without pressure. Stay till the end, because beside that sentence is a tiny arrow pointing toward the inside cover, somewhere nobody had thought to look before. Hidden there is one final note, shorter than every other page but possibly more important than all of them. Something huge is waiting for you. The note begins, "Before I finally speak, there is one truth you deserve to know," and underneath those words, there is enough space for only a few sentences. Whatever your soulmate placed there was not another memory, another question, or another dream about someday. It was the truth they believed you needed to know first, and those final sentences could completely change how every page of this secret love letter is understood. The final note begins with a truth your soulmate never managed to place anywhere else in the letter: "You were never as easy to forget as I pretended." Don't skip, because suddenly every period of silence, every unfinished sentence, and every rewritten page carries a different meaning. Your soulmate admits that they tried to make everything feel simple inside their own mind. They told themselves that unanswered questions would eventually disappear, that memories would become quieter, and that time would make the connection feel less important. But something unexpected happened. The more clearly they understood themselves, the more they realized they did not want to erase what they felt. They wanted to understand it. Stay till the end, because the next sentence is even more surprising. "I kept waiting for my heart to change, but instead, my perspective changed." Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate writes that they finally stopped seeing their feelings as a question they needed to escape and started seeing them as something worth expressing honestly. That is why the letter was preserved. That is why the final page was hidden. And that is why these last words were added only after they became completely certain about what they wanted to say. But there is one revelation that makes the entire secret letter suddenly come full circle. Don't skip, because your soulmate admits that the letter was originally never supposed to reach you. It began as a private place where they could write everything they were not ready to say. Yet page after page, something changed. Their private thoughts slowly became words they wished you could hear. Their memories became questions. Their questions became clarity. And their clarity became a decision. Stay till the end, because they write that if the letter ever found its way to you, they hoped you would understand one important thing: nothing written here was meant to decide your feelings for you. They simply wanted you to know the truth about theirs. Something huge is waiting for you, because underneath that sentence comes the strongest line yet. Whatever your answer might be, I would rather know the truth than spend forever wondering about a possibility I never had the courage to explore. For the first time, there is no mystery surrounding what they want. They want an honest beginning, an honest answer, and the opportunity to discover whether what has existed quietly between you could become something real. Then comes the final surprise, the sentence that was apparently meant to end the entire letter. Don't skip. The handwriting becomes careful and deliberate, as though your soulmate knew these would be the words remembered longest. If I stand before you someday and suddenly struggle to explain everything, remember this letter. It contains all the words I spent too long learning how to say. Stay till the end, because there is one final addition underneath, written so close to the bottom edge that it almost disappears from the